last video, my second last video, I talked about some of the things I've been doing lately because I've been high, and one of them was I said I was a bit cheeky at work. So I was kind of snapping back to my colleague, which is not a bad thing because I don't know, I tend not to stand up for myself when I'm getting pushed around. But I said the other day, like, lately I've been a bit cheeky to my boss, which isn't good. Something happened last week where kind of happened earlier last week, I think. No, Friday. I can't even remember. And I was pretty high at the time, and something happened that really ticked me off. And I got a certain story in my head that had some basis in reality, but wasn't like the whole story. And I got pretty angry, and I fired off an angry email that afternoon to my boss. And it was just basically, this is like how I'm feeling, like, I don't think it's fair that, this should be an email, this should be a conversation, blah, 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 blah. And then just everything from the last 4.5 years of working there, just things that I've been frustrated about, but also just current things that I am pissed off about, but I haven't really told him. And there's certain other things that I've kind of told him, but not in so many words. It all just kind of came out into this email rant, and I pressed send. And then a couple of days later, I kind of started thinking about, I'd started kind of coming to a more balanced frame of mind, and I know I knew I'd done the wrong thing, and he'd been away for a few days, and I messaged him and I said, hey, wondering when I can give you a call. I just want to apologise for the email about the other day. And so anyway, we were trying to work out a time to call and play phone tag, but anyway, finally spoke to him yesterday. Just he was back in the office, and so we went and had a chat. And he doesn't know my diagnosis. He doesn't. I've never. I don't know if he's ever suspected, but I've never identified myself as mentally ill to my boss. And it's a really hard thing to do, because it's not necessarily always the right thing to do, and I've done it before and it's backfired in a way that I didn't really like. But I actually told him that I have bipolar disorder. Backtrack to that. I mean, I didn't go into this meeting and say, oh, I'm going to tell him this because that'll kind of make him softer on me for sending me an angry email, and it wasn't it at all. Because I wanted to go into the meeting because I knew I'd done the wrong thing. And something that, regardless of how it came about, a choice that I made, or something that I did, impacted on someone else, and there's, that impacts them a certain way. And so the first thing I did was offer my unreserved apology, and own the fact that it was the wrong thing to do, and that I was sorry, and that, there was a lot of kind of angry stuff in my head, and I'm not saying that it was all necessarily, I didn't just make it all up. There's a lot of angry things in my head, but they shouldn't necessarily all come out like that. But so he was good, because I think he went into the meeting a little bit nervous and a bit kind of unsure, but I think that put him at ease a bit. And so that was good. And that was before I got into that whole other subject, because I think that when you've got an illness, and it's hard to draw that line, it's hard to kind of say, okay, where's my illness and where's me? And when you're under the influence of an illness like that, or a mood disorder, or you're high or you're low, and you can do something or say something under the influence of that, you might not mean it, or you might not mean to do that, and you might not have done it in a normal frame of mind. That might not be who you are, but it still has impact for other people, and it still has consequences for you. And it's something that, you need to accept. And that's kind of what I found dealing in mine. Just because I'm going through an episode or a shit time, it's there's still things that I say or do that can hurt other people or that just aren't appropriate. So that was the first thing, and so we just kind of talked about that a bit, and that was okay. That went well, and then once that was kind of, we're kind of able to move that aside. Then I said, look, I just want to share something as well, and I told him the reason I'm sharing it, because it wasn't to get, like, I didn't want him to think that I'm trying to get sympathy or get a softer response from him. But I just wanted him to understand that it wasn't about him, that I'd shared that I have bipolar disorder, and that I'd been high lately and hadn't been very well. And it was kind of interesting because he kind of looked at me like, just felt like more human or something. Like, I mean, you go to work and sometimes you just, you work with someone for 4.5 years, and it's a long time, and we're a pretty small team, and like, there's been times we probably just want to rip each other's heads off, and other times we're getting on pretty well. And so I think in that moment it just felt like we're talking as humans, and I felt like we kind of connected in some way. And it was good because the reason I was sharing with him was just to say, hey, this isn't about you, and but this is what's going on for me right now, and this might explain why I may have sent this email, not because of this, but because I'm of something in me. And then on the way up, because we came back to the office, and on the way I saw this poster, and it just happened to be World Mental Health Day. So that was kind of interesting, because he saw the poster, he looked at it, and then I looked at it, and then I realised what it was. But yeah, I don't know, it was just kind of nice, because when I told him, he was like, okay, well, do you have support, and let me know if there's anything I can do, and you just, just sing out to me if you need anything. And yeah, I don't know, and I think sometimes, I guess that's just my example, like one example, but I think when you've been dealing with an illness that long and you get help for it and stuff, like, you kind of learn that, it's just a reality. It's not that, you have to berate yourself or beat yourself up for stuff, but you do have to accept that your illness can have an impact on other people and can have consequences that hurt people, and just because you didn't mean it or it wasn't what you would have done normally doesn't mean that the impact's any less for other people. So I think it's just really important to recognise those two things as a separate thing. Like, yes, there's your illness and that wasn't who you are, but there's still this over here. It doesn't mean you need to kind of beat yourself up. But that was, it was just kind of, I don't know, it was kind of nice in a way. Like, I felt like things are better at work now because of that. And yeah, and it's also really hard to talk about mental health at work as well. Like, it was kind of cool seeing the poster up on that moment, on that day, like the day that I told my boss after 4.5 years. That was kind of nice, because even though, my workplace is kind of technically got the image of being progressive and educated about those kinds of things, the culture of my particular, the office where I work isn't really, like, no one does talk about it. But I'm still a fan of the hashtag talking about it. So I guess I'll keep trying that out, and hope that it works for me. And sometimes it might not, and I need to accept that too, but I'm just glad that on that day, yesterday, I'm just glad that it did work out for me, but we'll see. Anyway, sorry this video is boring. Bye.